Wes Stuhan min Freyon and welcome to another video. Oh, finally, I got through the third episode of The Rings of Power, and let me tell you, it is getting worse and worse, just as I predicted. Now, I have never watched anything during which I would be looking at the time every 2 minutes, just waiting, begging all the gods to end it finally. And now I've really realized that I actually feel tremendously and deeply sorry for everybody who is defending and fighting for the Rings of Power, actually enjoying it, because how low your standards have to be to actually enjoy it, or how deep into the state of denial do you have to go to say that this is a good show? Now, this is not a good show, even if you look past the absolute absence of the lore of anything that would have anything to do with Professor Tolkien other than the names from the appendices, and that's only some of them. From the very beginning, from the get-go, and please do feel free to go back and check out the reviews to episodes 1 and 2 that I make. From the get-go, it's absolutely new story, Amazon's original story that is absolutely not resembling the story of the Second Age as it was described in anything that Tolkien wrote in the appendices, in this case, because it's apparently all that they have the rights for, not even mentioning the unfinished tales or the Silmarillion or anything. I'm going to cover the individual storylines. We've got 3 main storylines in this, and of course we start with I will start with Galadriel here, who is one of the most insufferable characters in the show. Well, at least until I saw Miriel, the fake Miriel that is here in the show, who, of course, according to the law, should live about 2,000 years later than this show is, present, and she should have been the rightful heir to the throne of Numenor, the last one, really, but her throne was usurped by her cousin, Ar-Pharazôn, who forced her to marry him so that he can usurp the throne. He became the last king of Numenor. He made many war pillaging journeys to the kingdoms of Middle-earth. He was a very proud lord, very proud king. He captured Sauron because Sauron let himself be captured. Then he took him to Numenor. Sauron, of course, thanks to his lies and his deceptions and his magic, very simplistically said, became the most closest advisor of Ar-Pharazôn. He made him believe that if he defeated the Valar, he could assail Valinor, that he could attack Valinor, that he could become immortal. And of course, that was the biggest mistake, because, well, you can't just go to Valinor and F things up. So Eru Ilúvatar got involved himself and sank Numenor. So this was what caused the downfall of Numenor in the books. This is absolutely about something else, about something different. So Galadriel, at the beginning of this episode, she finds herself on the way to Numenor with Halbrand, Sauron in disguise, and at this point we have to be sure that this is Sauron, or if not, but it has been confirmed already, I think, and if not, there are some people are still doubting. There is another theory that he could be the Witch King of Angmar, but they are trying to make it so that he is, this is the biggest fun of it, they are trying to make it so, or appear that he is the King of the South. Oh yes, they are trying to make him into a Southern Aragorn here. That somehow he is the descendant of the Southerners who were in allegiance with Morgoth in the past, and that they were defeated by the forces of the good. Now, talking about constructed ideas and poorly written to that. Of course, so they arrive in Numenor, they are taken there by Elendil, and they meet they meet Pharazôn, who is apparently here a chancellor. That is interesting. Chancellor Pharazôn, an advisor to Queen Regent Miriel, which is, of course, something completely different from what I've described at the beginning. And let me tell you, if there is somebody insufferable, if there's somebody very annoying in this TV show, that's Miriel. Let me tell you. So then we've got this scene, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also random, jokey scene, when Miriel says, "Name thyself," and Galadriel starts naming her titles as if she was Daenerys Targaryen, the first of her name, the Queen of the Andals and the First Men. And she says, so yada yada yada. And one of them is, of course, that she's something like that, the commander of the northern armies of the High King Gil-galad. Oh my gosh. And then, of course, Halbrand says, "I'm Halbrand of Southlands." Ha 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 ha. Oh my gosh, so random. I'm going to tell you, when this show is not bad, it's boring. Exceedingly, extraordinarily boring. Now, I was tweeting while watching the episode. I went to have like 5 cigarettes in between that, and it still wasn't enough to make me feel better. And then we have, of course, this phallic grab scene from the teaser, or from one of the clips that were released in the beginning. So Miriel sends them to somewhere because apparently... Alright, let us dive into this. So they are pointing to the fact that Numenor was divided into the followers of the Valar and those who have abandoned the ways of the Valar. And indeed, in the lore, Numenor was divided in these 2 fractions, of course. The Kingsmen and and the other ones, and they are trying to put this into this show so they think that they would please the book lovers by this, but they are making it so unnecessarily complicated in that they also are implementing this in their own story. So apparently nobody likes Galadriel there because the followers of the king and of course his daughter Miriel, they have abandoned the ways of the Valar, and they hate the elves, so they hate Galadriel because she got there, and she wants to get away anyway, and she doesn't forget to make everybody like she basically tells everybody that she's their better, and that they can only thank the elves for having the island, and that she doesn't want to be there anyway. And Miriel tells her, our ancestors didn't get anything as a gift. Really? Well, once again breaking the law. Then we get to know that Elendil is basically an unknown captain on Numenor. Miriel doesn't know about him. So it's really? Is he really not known? Do you have to be explained who Elendil is? And she assigns him with the task of getting Galadriel out of the island, apparently. She gives him a sword. Gosh, please, don't make this sword not be Narsil, or I will go into a rampage. Then we meet the stoner Mexican Isildur, his son, which is, oh boy, he's like an aspiring captain who is like in this, what was it again? An academy for sailors. We meet the made-up Elendil's daughter, Earien. There's a mention of Anarion, but is out of the picture here because, we need a strong female character here. The obligatory struggle between the father and son is implemented, of course. Elendil and Anarion and Isildur are arguing, and Earien, the made-up daughter who never appeared in any of the books, she's made up by Amazon. She's an Amazon's original character. She gets into the Builders Guild because she's like the best. She is the better child of the two when Anarion is out of the picture. Meanwhile, we follow the story of Halbrand, and there are... When you know that this bloke is Sauron, you can see that they are trying to imply a couple of things here and there. So, for example, he's very good at, making friends, like really fooling people. He says and boasts that he's very good at smithing. Oh, really? Nobody's better in smithing than Halbrand. Oh my gosh. Because he's going to forge the One Ring. Oh my gosh. Oh, so random. He gets into a fight with some Numenoreans. By the way, the Numenoreans, when they were described by Tolkien, they should all look very pale with black hair or grey hair and grey eyes, and they look, all of them look like Greek pirates to me. I don't know why. Maybe because Amazon thinks that, and they have basically made all Numenor into Greece. The architecture there looks as if I visited a Greek city. The Numenoreans look very Greek to me, all of them. So I think I will be calling the Amazon Numenoreans Greeks now. This is nothing against Greeks. It's just, once again, breaking the law, right? So, an insufferable. Galadriel escapes and she goes to a tower with Elendil, and where they keep records and scrolls. And there, of course, she finds out the truth, that the symbol she discovered was Mordor. Oh my gosh, we didn't expect that. So basically she discovered, and she was talking about a plan. She was talking about a plan that she discovered of Sauron wanting to establish Mordor. Oh, so this is, what the hell? So in the book, in the law, of course, Anatar made himself known. It was between the ages 1300 to 1500 AD. SA, Second Age, when he made himself be public to the elves, and Galadriel did not let him fool her, nor did Gil-galad, and nor did Círdan, but the rest of them kind of did. And then, of course, the three rings were forged, but they were hidden, and Sauron, or Anatar, he never touched them. He, in secrecy, forged the One Ring. Well, and we know the rest. But here it seems that so Mordor in the law was established in 1000 of the Second Age, and he came to Numenor, as I said at the beginning of the video, captured by Pharazôn or Ar-Pharazôn in 3262. So that is, so we find ourselves here before the establishment of Mordor. And Sauron, if Halbrand is indeed Sauron, is at Numenor, fooling all the Numenoreans, getting into their, heads now. So once again, you can see a time compression of approximately 2,262 years. Not even mentioning the fact that Galadriel, she wants to get on that Halbrand D, and she wants that. And of course, Halbrand wants to get into that elf, you know what. So there is apparent tension, sexual tension between them. So far, not even a half a word of mention of Celebrian, Galadriel's daughter, or Celeborn, Galadriel's husband, with whom she should have already been for a long time. She never left his side, or if she did, just very briefly from the very beginning of the Second Age, and there should have been Celebrian already. They are not there. This is anti-canonical. This is non-canonical. They are breaking the law, and I don't know how they could be doing it, because I thought that according to the deal that they had with the estate, they can't do anything that would contradict the law, and they have been doing it since episode 1, and they are doing it still. We move then to Arondir, 12 years an elf. He is captured by the orcs, who are all white. They are all albinos, every single of the orcs white. And some of you might be arguing, yes, but they are living underground, they are shunning the light or the sun. By the way, this is absolutely stupid. When the orcs get to the sun, a bloody vapor starts to go from their skin. They are as if they were burning like vampires. No, orcs just couldn't look into the sun, or just did really find it very painful to be on it. They hated the sun because they were the creatures of the darkness. They did not vanish. They did not evaporate when they were touched by the sun. What the heck is this? So, and some of them, or some of you might be saying, oh, but their skin did not need to produce any other color than extra white when they were not living in the sun. All right, then, fine. Yeah, that's a very good argument. So explain Disa now to me. Well, you can't, right? Well, all right then. So we meet other elves and other people who were captured by the orcs, and apparently they should be building this tunnel so they can get to other villages and spread throughout Middle-earth, and at the same time look for something, maybe for Sauron, apparently, and so they can move without being into contact with the sun, yada yada. So they are digging, those elves, and as I said, 12 years an elf, and and there you can see how very poorly the dialogue is written and how nonsensical all of this is. So they reach a root of a tree, and the showrunners and the screenwriters wanted the orcs to look very mean and very evil, and they wanted there to be, some sort of struggles and suffering for the good races, for the elves. So they told themselves, oh, we will have to make an elf fell a tree. Oh, that will be so sad. And the orcs will be the evil ones. Yeah, so they couldn't have come up with a better, plot device here than for an elf to say, because they reach a tree and they can't go on digging the tunnel without cutting the tree down. And one of the elves says, we cutting down the tree would slow us down. We will go around. So what do you think will take more time? To dig this extremely wide and huge passage around a tree, or just cutting the bloody tree down? So that's how the script is. That's how nonsensical it is. And you can find just plot holes after plot holes after plot holes like this all the time. It's absolutely preposterous right there. So they, of course, yes, and they make another very, oh my gosh, scene when one of the orcs kills the elves, or one of the elves, because, they hate the elves, and it's all very slow and very boring and very stupid and just strained all throughout the episode, and it drags, and it ends up by an attempt to escape, during which most of the elves are killed, but Arondir isn't, of course. How could he? Because he's one of our protagonists, so he can't be killed. And and that's actually how the episode ends. One of the orcs says, bring him to Adar. And then we got a blurry silhouette of our new original villain, who is an evil elf. In the lore, there has never ever whatsoever been an evil elf. Elves were always on the side of the good. There was one instance when, of course, Morgoth captured some elves, and tortured them, and marred them, and crippled them, and destroyed them, and made them into orcs. But this is something different. He changed them into orcs, and that's it. So elves either died, or they were fighting on the side of the good. Even if they killed themselves between each other, like it was at the kinslaying of Alqualonde between Feanor and the other elves, it was between the elves. But it was because he wanted to pursue, go, kill, and defeat Morgoth. Elves were never, ever, whatsoever in the history of Arda on the side of one of the Dark Lords. Full stop. Breaking the law, being absolutely awful to whatever Tolkien wrote. Awful. The most boring aspect of this entire episode were the Harfoots. Very quickly. So, they should prepare themselves to move on. To go and migrate again. But the daddy of Nori Brandyfoot, he broke his leg, right? So, oh my gosh, they will be left behind. So there's this rip-off scene. There's Lenny Henry Hobbit. He's got like a speech, and it's a complete rip-off of Bilbo Baggins' birthday speech. And then they reveal themselves to be basically cold-hearted bastards. Because, you know, whatever, I know what they wanted to do. So basically whatever or whoever gets left behind just dies. They don't wait for anybody, they don't help anybody, they don't even try to help some of those who get left behind. So those those who get left behind, they just died. Which is contradictory to how they established the Harfoots. You know, we only have ourselves. We don't believe the outsiders. A Harfoot will help a Harfoot. We are one huge, big, diverse, multicultural Harfoot family. But those who get left behind, even to bees, yes, even to bees and snow, they will just die. Fine, okay. So, Gandalf, Meteor Man, or the Stranger, is discovered to the rest of the Harfoots because he's a mindless, nitwitty idiot here. And so that happens, that he travels with them. Oh my gosh! And he says words, he starts speaking. He says Nori and friend. Does it not remind you of anything? Again, friend, like melon. Interesting. So, the overall feeling of this episode is that all the women, all the female characters, each and every single one of them are insufferable. They cannot take anyone's opinion. They have to slap everybody around, boss everybody around. They are the most perfect beings in the entire universe, under the sun and the moon. And they can bloody put Rey from Star Wars to their pockets because she's nothing in comparison with them. I was talking to my own mind if I find Galadriel or Tarmiriel more insufferable, and I think that this is going to be a very hard competition right there. All the other characters, like the male characters, are idiots, complete nitwits, with nonsensical lines, and the script is so forgettable that I have just finished watching it. And I have serious problems remembering the lines or what they were really talking about because it was all so generic. There was something when the Harfoots were talking about common sense and nonsense and hard sense and mind sense. What the bloody what? Apparently Elanor has a middle name, Kelemark, Brandyfoot. How come those wandering, primitive, prehistoric the Hobbit gypsies can read and have an idea what a middle name is? They are very, 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 very deep into naming, which of course I think the nomadic tribes are not that much into naming when they move all the time, so they don't name places, and if anything, their names are just simple because they don't settle down, they don't have long bloodlines. But yeah, but none of it makes sense. So that's why I was at the beginning of the video saying that I feel sorry for everybody who enjoys this show because it only proves that you have either very extremely low standards or that you really, really have low IQ. Yeah. Right. This is all I have to say. This is boring. This is nothing. Even if I just looked aside and past the fact that this got nothing to do with Tolkien, this show is so generic, so boring. The pacing is so slow. The music is forgettable. I don't remember a single note from the soundtrack. That I am only glad and happy that it is over and that I have another week, a whole week with the Rings of Power. And let me know in the comments down below what you think. And that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching. And I'm out of here.